Midcaps take the lead higher with advances far outstripping the declines. Energy and utilities gain the most while IT and metals are soft. The cyber attack at JLR and its slowing global sales weigh on Tata Motors' passenger vehicles business following its second quarter results. The only silver lining is a fillip from the launch of a new model and other variants in India in the second half of the year. Glenmark Pharma's second quarter numbers are riddled with exceptional items, starting with the near 3,700 crore rupee bounty from the AbbVie licensing deal at one end, but a large drug settlement charge and GST-related hits on the other. While some exceptions concern investors, the company guides for a strong outlook in FY27. Kotak Mahindra Bank founder Uday Kotak and MD Ashok Vaswani have wished to see it as a global financial institution and India's most profitable and third largest private financial services group, respectively. In the group's 40th year, Kotak Bank's board will consider splitting the stock. The bank notifies the exchanges. And in the first, India inks an LPG import deal with the US. Under the agreement, 2.2 million tons per annum of LPG will be imported by the Indian oil PSUs from the US Gulf Coast in 2026. The move ups hopes of a long-awaited India-US trade deal. And it is that anticipation that has taken the markets to the highest point of the day as we enter the second half of the start of this new trading week. Good afternoon. You're watching Business Lunch. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I am Hormus Patakia. And of course, it is the Nifty that is now heading towards the 26,000 mark as we speak. At the highest point of the day is the index, 80 points higher. But what is leading the charge on the index, though, is the Nifty Bank. And that is now nearing the 59,000 mark. And the index is now up 450 points as we speak. So the intraday high of the Nifty Bank was 58,996 and the intraday high of the Nifty was 25,996 as well. So 4 points shy of either landmark for both the Nifty and the Nifty Bank. The Nifty is now closer to that 26,000 mark. The Nifty Bank has cooled off slightly from those levels of around 59,000. The PSU banks are the ones that are leading the charge within the banking space, and it is names like Bank of Maharashtra, Indian Overseas Bank, Central Bank. Every constituent of the PSU Bank Index today trading with gains. The larger constituents are trading with slightly smaller gains of 0.5 to 1%, but the smaller names trading with gains of anywhere between 2 to 3% in today's trading session. Of course, there are stocks that are at a 52-week high as well. You look at Hero MotoCorp, out of the Nifty, but continuing to do well for itself. 4% higher on that stock as a 52-week high here. Marico is at a 52-week high. And Laurus Labs now above the mark of 1,000 at a 52-week high as well. Of course, Grow, the market cap now more than 1 lakh crore rupees. So that too doing well for itself. 4 days of listing and all 4 days the stock trading in the gain. But what has not done well today, though, in a market like this is Tata Motors and the passenger vehicles business in particular. After the the second quarter results as well and miss on all fronts. Sudarshan is here to break those numbers down for us. Sudarshan.
So 2025 is turning out to be a year for Tata Motors passenger vehicle business. That company would not like to see a repeat of this going forward. In Q2 also, it's been a week across the board. It has missed expectations, reported losses for both standalone and consolidated business. And one main reason for this is JLR, which had seen a cyber attack in the month of late August. And because of this, in the consolidated segment, company has reported an impact of more than 2,000 crore. Just look at few numbers. Adjusted loss for standalone business has come at 240 crore against profit of almost 15 crore. Margin has slipped to 2.4% versus 6%. For JLR, EBITDA margin company has reported in minus, that was minus 1.6%, down almost 1,300 basis points. EBIT margin has 2, it was minus 8.6%, down almost 1,400 basis points. Now what's going forward? For JLR, because of cyber attack, it's expecting Q3 also to be weak. Normalcy will return only in Q4. It has cut the EBIT margin guidance to 0 to 2% versus earlier guidance that company had of 5 to 7%. It has increased cash flow guidance to 2.5 billion pounds versus earlier target of almost 0. Expecting that some of the launches that company will be making, that will help making certain kind of improvement. As far as standalone business of India business is concerned, company is expecting H2 FY26 to be better than H1 FY26. H2 FY26 PV industry outlook is seen in double digits. For entire FY26, growth is seen at 5% plus minus 2%. And growth is likely to be aided by new launches. Company is launching Sierra this month. Also, they'll be launching Harrier and Safari in petrol version. As far as brokerage calls are concerned, most of the brokerages remain negative on the stock.
Interesting. Sudarshan, thank you for that update. 4.5% lower for Tata Motors PV, now trading below the discovery price of 400 rupees a share. The other big conversation, CNBC TV18 exclusive, Shireen Bhan sat down with the top brass of Kotak Mahindra Bank. Listen into a slice of that conversation.
IDBI Bank, which, it's been 10 years now since ING Vaisya. The question is whether you still have the appetite to do IDBI Bank. I know you continue to be in the frame, Mr. Vaswani. So let me direct that question to you first before I get a broad picture there from Mr. Kotak. IDBI Bank, how serious is Kotak's ambition there?
So we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Look, we look at every single opportunity there is. Obviously, our goal is to transform for scale. So we look at it. If it makes strategic sense, then we go to the valuation and see whether financially it kind of makes sense. And if it makes sense, yes. Also, you got to say that we are on a certain path, right? We're on a certain path, transformation, or they talked about the changes in financial services, how technology is changing a whole bunch of stuff. And therefore, what is our priorities? What is our management mandate? Where are we going to really spend our time? Is it going to be spending time in integrating HR and payroll systems? Or is it going to be really transforming the business? So those we kind of take into balance and see whether, a thing makes sense. Obviously, we can't comment on a particular kind of
Okay,
asset.
allow me to read between the lines of what you just said, that given the fact that, as Mr. Kotak pointed out, we're in an environment where banking itself is being disrupted on account of technology, would it make strategic sense to go in for an IDBI bank, which is largely a legacy bank, and at the same time, forget the valuations, does it even make strategic sense for you, given your aspiration of wanting to be digital first today?
Your words, not mine.
So would that be a fair assumption?
I kind of laid out the case, right, Shireen? We look at every single thing. We see how, and we take a very, very balanced and a thoughtful view.
You haven't shied away from inorganic deals in the past, Mr. Kotak. As you look at 40 years, or forget 40 years, 10 years on, and I know you can't talk specifically about IDBI Bank, but what is the inorganic aspiration? How crucial do you believe that is going to be for the future?
You have to look at your model in terms of what makes sense. And I'll give you our out of the box. Not many people recognize that in 2014, we took a 15% stake in MCX. At a valuation of 450 crores for 15%. MCX market cap today is 50,000 crores. And we've just been patient investors. We strategically took a call that financial infrastructure space makes sense. We also took a bet on KFinTech, which is in the registrar space for mutual funds and others. And we took a 10% stake there, or 9.99. So then we took stake in NSDL. We have taken stake in Clearing Corporation of India, because we are great believers in long-term financial infrastructure space. For we are always ready to think differently. And when I look at the future, I look at the future very different from what we have seen today.
So a bank may not necessarily be part of the future.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we will build the future on the basis of what makes sense.
The big exclusive of the day with the top brass of Kotak Mahindra Bank. The other reason why the stock is also in news is because the board is going to meet this Friday to consider a stock split. Gaurav is here to tell us more on this. Gaurav.
Well, yes, we already heard the management, and based on what we are seeing is that there is already a speculation that Kotak is interested in getting some stake in IDBI, where management said that they're actually looking at every opportunity to see if it makes strategic and financial sense in all the cases, not just IDBI. But apart from that, there is another thing which is keeping the stock in focus, and that is stock split. Now, 21st November is the date when board will meet and consider the stock split. Now remember, Currently, the face value is 5 rupees per share, and the last time we saw a stock split in Kotak Mahindra Bank was in September 2010. So after 15 years, there is coming a point where there will be discussion about stock split. Apart from that, other than this news, we already have some of the fundamental levers which are already keeping the stock in focus. And this is because in second quarter of FY26, we already saw the ROAs that came in at around 1.9% versus what we have seen in FY25 at around 2.7%. So that is already there. Now, going ahead, a tailwind is that management believe that in second half, there will be NIM expansion if there is no rate cut. But market is already watching the stock closely on the back of the ROA expansion story because the valuation that they are currently having are a bit higher than the other peers. But apart from that, another news which is again keeping the stock in focus is the stock split, and we will be closely watching on what happens on 21st of November with Kotak Mahindra Bank.
Stock split keeping the stock higher. Gaurav, thank you for that update. The other stock that has been in focus through the morning has been Glenmark, and after the management commentary in its conference call, the stock has been a little choppy. Ekta is here to tell us more on this. Ekta.
Well, yes, I'll start by telling you a little bit about the numbers for Glenmark this quarter. It was definitely a quarter of a lot of exceptionals this time round. So, for example, they did recognize the income, a large part of the income that they received in terms of milestone income from the AbbVie out-licensing deal for ISB 2001, which is one of the molecules which were under development. So, they reported revenue this quarter had that one-time income of around 3,670 odd crores from AbbVie, which was recognized. But a lot of the work was undone because of exceptional items this quarter. So, for example, it was primarily because India was impacted on account of one-time GST changes. The numbers for India were down over 85% year-on-year as well as sequentially. Now, exceptional items included a provision on certain inventories of around 590 crores, 490 crores related to change in inventory model, impairment of around 200 odd crores. So, on an adjusted basis, the revenue was around 2,380 odd crores, and the net loss around 900 odd crores. However, the street seems to be taking the guidance which the management was extremely certain on in the conference call, and they seem to be taking it positively at this point in time. So, for example, the guidance is that Glenmark is entering into Glenmark 3.0 post Q2. There will be an improvement in margins to 23% and eventually 25%. They've guided to around 1,150 to 1,200 crores in terms of India sales Q3 onwards. Europe should grow in double digits in the second half. India sales FY27 onwards should be around 4,800 odd crores. They're looking at sales of around 17 to 18,000 crores in FY27, and it should be a strong year for the US business. Larger vision for the company, which Glenn Saldana put out, was that they are looking to move up the value chain. They are looking to become more brand focused. It is going to be a journey for Glenmark, which will be a high growth business. They expect the next 5 to 10 years to look very strong for the company, and the aim is to grow the business around 15% going forward, and the focus is to grow organically. R&D portfolio, they are quite bullish in terms of molecules, so it could probably become one of the most sought after company. That's IGI, their R&D arm, after a few years due to the R&D pipeline, and they're quite bullish on ISB 880 and ISB 830, and they would be looking at out licensing deals in the next 5 years.
Ekta, thank you for that update there. Take a short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, in a major policy reversal, US President Donald Trump has rolled back tariffs on more than 200 food items. The move comes amidst rising frustration from Americans over soaring grocery bills. Take a look.
US President Donald Trump has rolled back tariffs on more than 200 food products in the face of growing angst among American consumers about the high cost of groceries. The new exemptions were announced on Friday and include such staples as coffee, beef, bananas, and orange juice. They took effect retroactively at midnight on Thursday. The move marks a sharp reversal for Trump, who has long insisted that the sweeping import duties he imposed earlier this year are not fueling inflation. Trump was asked about the rollback aboard Air Force One on Friday evening.
Mr. President, you've said that your tariffs do not increase prices for consumers, but now you're lowering.
I didn't say they don't. I say they may in some cases, but to a large extent, they've been borne by the country. As an example, we have virtually no inflation.
Trump also said he would move forward with a $2,000 payment to lower and middle income Americans that would be funded by tariff revenues.
Now we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt.
Friday's list of exemptions includes products U.S. consumers routinely purchase to feed their families at home, many of which have seen double-digit year-over-year price increases. The White House said Trump decided certain food items could be exempted since they were not grown or processed in the United States. And after, quote, significant progress the president has made in securing more reciprocal terms for our bilateral trade relationships. Trump has focused squarely on the issue of affordability in recent weeks.
Our work to lower the cost of living,
while insisting that any higher costs were triggered by policies enacted by his predecessor Joe Biden and not his own tariff policies. Democrats have won a string of recent victories in state and local elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York City, where growing voter concerns about affordability, including high food prices, were a key topic.
We'll take a short break. More news and updates follow on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, CNG supply is disrupted across the Mumbai metropolitan region after a gas pipeline was damaged, affecting the supply to the city station. The outage has resulted in long queues outside fuel stations and has forced auto rickshaws and taxis to go off the road. Santhya is joining in with more updates on this. Santhya.
The leakage and damage in GAIL pipeline, which supplies CNG to Mumbai and Mumbai metropolitan region yesterday, has led to chaos on the roads of Mumbai and Mumbai metropolitan region. There's no CNG supply to the petrol pumps. As a result, auto rickshaw drivers, Kali-Pili taxi drivers and other private vehicles are also lining up outside petrol pumps. Right now we are in Mumbai's Goregaon East area and you can see this long queue of auto rickshaw drivers. There are 280,000 auto rickshaws in Mumbai and over 470,000 auto rickshaws in the entire Mumbai metropolitan region, 30,000 taxis, Kali-Pili taxis in Mumbai, and over 70,000 app-based cabs across the Mumbai metropolitan region. And you can see this is just one area and one queue. Let me try and speak to some auto rickshaw drivers. आप लोग कब से खड़े हैं?
कल रात 2 बजे से।
कुछ जवाब मिल रहा है? सप्लाई कब चालू होगी?
कोई नहीं, वो बोलता कोई भरोसा कब कौन नहीं।
आप लोग तो आज फिर कुछ कमाई नहीं कर पाएंगे?
कुछ नहीं कमाएंगे, आज कुछ भी नहीं कर पाएंगे मैडम। हम पर्दा कैसे चलाएंगे? हमारे बच्चे हैं, हम लोग कैसे खाएंगे?
आप कब से खड़े हैं यहाँ पे?
रात से खड़े हैं, रात से 12 बजे रात से खड़े हैं जो हम लोग।
2 बजे रात से खड़ा हूँ मैडम।
12 बजे आज कभी कोई चांस नहीं गाड़ी चलाने,
कोई चांस नहीं। अभी
कुछ बता रहा है सप्लाई कब?
कोई नहीं बता, कोई सप्लाई नहीं है।
हम लोग आधे कब से बैठे हैं, बस जाते हैं वहाँ पे बोलते भाई आएगा तो आ जाना।
So CNBC TV18 spoke to MGL and MGL said that the supply will be restored by tomorrow. That means the evening peak hours will be extremely challenging for the people of Mumbai. It's not just the service providers as in the auto rickshaw drivers and taxi drivers who are suffering because of this disruption in supply. People of Mumbai also are having a tough time finding a mode of public transport, and evening hours are going to be even more challenging for the people of the city and the region.
Santhya, thank you for that important update. A challenging evening rush hour awaits commuters in Mumbai. We take your leave on this edition of Business Lunch from me and the team. Thank you for watching. We leave you with the markets near the highest point of the day, Midcap radar on the other side.